Hi everybody, Trisha coming to you from the virtual Foundry, talking today about some tips and tricks for printing with Filamet on an Ultimaker 3D printer. Now, Filamet metal, glass, and ceramic 3D printing filaments are made of regular standard 3D printing PLA plastic, and they're loaded up with metal or glass or ceramic powder. And since that metal powder is being held together with PLA, these filaments print just like PLA. Now, in general, you'll select the generic PLA profile from your slicing software, then adjust the nozzle temperature to 210 degrees Celsius and the flow rate to 135%. Use a filawarmer, a 0.6 millimeter hardened steel nozzle. Make sure your build plate is prepped and ready and you're good to go. Now you're printing with metal, just like you printed with PLA. Now these filament materials print in a wide range of 3D printers like Creality, Prusa, Ultimaker, etc. And with your Ultimaker machine, we have some additional tips and tricks for your metal 3D printing success. First up, spool setup. You'll set your filament spool and filawarmer so that the filament unwinds from under the spool and goes directly into the filawarmer, which feeds it straight into the printer's Bowden tube. Let's take a closer look at this. Next up, your slicer. You'll get your slicer set up for filament by installing the copper filament profile in your Ultimaker Cura slicer program. You'll use this copper filament profile for any of the virtual Foundry materials you're printing, even if they're not copper. They all use the same starting parameters. Next, you'll use and select the CC 0.6 print core. Now, Filamet is more viscous than regular plastics like PLA. This means that the filament needs a little more space between the nozzle and the build plate on that first layer, so we're going to use the Z offset slicer setting in Cura to help us with this. So you'll install the Z offset plugin and set your Z offset parameter. The offset we use for our in-house Ultimaker S5 is set to 0.11 millimeters. Then watch your print and adjust as necessary until this setting is dialed in on your printer. Now let's take a look at what these settings look like in Cura. there's just one more step before you're ready to print, and that is build plate preparation. The Ultimaker S7 powder coated spring steel build plate needs no special prep. If that's your build plate, you're ready to start printing. If you have a glass build plate, you'll need to clean it with isopropyl alcohol before printing. The instructions for this are to start with a cool, meaning room temperature glass. Clean the glass by spraying it with isopropyl alcohol and wiping with a paper towel. Be sure not to touch the print surface after you've cleaned it. Next, set your printer's build plate temperature to 65 Celsius and then print normally. Once your print is finished, let the glass cool completely, meaning to room temperature, before removing the prints. It can be really helpful to remove the glass from the printer and place it on a cooler surface like a countertop or even concrete. This will be necessary when you have prints that cover a lot of the build plate surface. Pro tip, do not put that build plate into the freezer. Now before your next print, you'll start at the beginning again and clean your glass with isopropyl alcohol. That's it. Now you're all set up for metal 3D printing success with your Ultimaker 3D printer. Be sure to reach out to info@thevirtualfoundry.com with any questions anytime. Happy printing, everybody. Hi everybody, Trisha Cease here and because they start with PLA, they're going to print just like PLA does. They all start with the same